Hello, you're listening to Storytelling Saga, the podcast that shares stories. I'm your host, Allie, and this week I'm discussing the Aristocats. You know, this is another movie I used to watch so many times throughout my childhood, so rewatching it, you get the burst of nostalgia, but also just all of these story beats that, like, as a kid, you don't necessarily pay attention to, so it's too funny. For instance, I had no idea that this is actually loosely based on a true story, because I wondered in the beginning why it was set in 1910 in Paris. I thought, that's kind of specific, like, why 1910 specifically? And it turns out that a family of cats they got an inheritance in 1910, that this actually happened. I found that really interesting. It's just so cool. And of course, I decided to watch this movie. I actually was planning on talking about this movie back when it had its 50th anniversary, because this movie debuted on December 24th, 1970. So it's over 50 years old now. So, and then just other things came up, but now I'm finally talking about it. Also, really because in light of the news that it is getting a live action reboot, yet another live action remake, because they are so necessary, so. And I do have Disney Plus now, so it's interesting how in the beginning, I have my own Disney Plus subscription. I finally got my own, and it's really great. And because they have a lot of good stuff, but it's one of those movies where they have a just like a general warning at the beginning saying this may have problematic things, and whatnot. And there are certain things that do not age well at all, that have the stereotypes. I mean, the Siamese cat, need I say more, So that's good that they acknowledge it, but they don't censor it or anything, or edit things out. So that's a good happy medium, just addressing it, but then this is the movie as it was. And it's so well drawn, and you could tell, you see how it's of course just hand drawn and so beautiful. And I always remembered I always remembered those geese sisters and the dogs at the end. I'm the leader, that guy. It's so cute. I did not remember their names, Napoleon and Lafayette. That's too funny. And same with the geese sisters, Abigail and Amelia Gabble, and then their drunk uncle. I thought that was they literally say, "Oh, you've been drinking," because he was basted in white wine. Like the guy was gonna kill him, and serve the goose. So they're just interesting characters, because then their arc is over once they just meet up with the uncle. But it's so funny how first, I guess I'm just talking about the Geese sisters first with this movie. So when they're waddling through, and that music always stuck with me, their kind of theme music. But when they're waddling through, and first they're so charmed by Thomas O'Malley, but then when they ask, when they think that he is Duchess's husband, he says, "I'm not exactly your husband." And they're saying, "Are you either are or you aren't?" She's like, "All right, I'm not." And then they immediately turn on him. They're like, "Oh, he has a crooked smile and his eyes are too close together." It's so weird. Goodness, they're so judgmental. They think he's trying to swim. Oh, God, you'll never learn like that. Gosh. Too funny. But so our main characters, though, with Duchess and her three kittens, Marie, Toulouse, and Berlioz. I never remember the name Berlioz. I always remembered Marie and Toulouse, but gosh, Marie is so snooty yet adorable. That line is iconic. "Ladies don't start fights, but they can finish them." That line is great. And as a kid, I had a sweatshirt of Marie, a picture of Marie, a purple sweatshirt, and then when I got too big for it, it was my sister's, so she wore it for the longest time. So I remember when she was 4 or something, wearing that little sweatshirt. Too cute. So Marie is so adorable. Marie just very much like a mini version of Duchess. And as a kid, I thought, I remember thinking how Berlioz is a mini version of Scat Cat, that cat that we meet later on, singing, the iconic "Everybody Wants to Be a Cat." And Toulouse is a mini version of O'Malley. O'Malley is such a great character entrance when he's just singing. It's just so great. O'Malley the alley cat. So good. Goodness. And of course you got the whole thing with the class system, how they are high society rich cats with their owner, Madam. And she's so sweet, their owner, and how she's, the whole plot of the movie, she's going to leave her everything to the cats. And then when the servant, Edgar, overhears it, that one's the cat, no, first to my cats, then to Edgar, so he wants to get rid of the cats. It's so mean, it's terrible. And then, of course, there's Roquefort, the little mouse, who's just so adorable, and he's voiced by, what's the guy's name? Sterling something. Sterling Holloway, who was the original voice of Winnie the Pooh, and you could definitely hear it, same similar voice. But Roquefort to me is like the ultimate friend, and he like puts himself at risk to save Duchess and the kittens, and it's so amazing. Like, towards the end of the movie, when then he gets O'Malley to help them, and then like O'Malley asks him to get the alley cats, tell them O'Malley sent you, and then he can't remember his name. It's like, oh, Grady, oh, Johnson, then strike three, and it's like, oh, why'd I trust that O'Malley cat? O'Malley, why didn't you say so? Like, oh goodness. So he's amazing, little Roquefort, when he has his little cracker, and then like, he falls asleep too, and then he just, is doing everything he can to save Duchess and the kittens when they come back, and then the guy throws them in the sack, throws them in the freaking oven. Goodness. Oh, it's so upsetting when they're missing, and poor Madame is so upset. Like, oh goodness. And it's cute how there's a hint of a romance between her and Georges. Like, not George, Georges. Oh, Georges, her attorney. Like, it's funny. And he's just like, likes to dance. Very cute, very lively. So it's too funny. And Duchess is so adorable, like with her and O'Malley when he's saying, oh, your sapphire eyes, like her little pretty sparkling eyes. She's so cute, Duchess. And I always remembered I loved the part like early on in the movie when they're practicing their music and their painting, when Toulouse paints, it's Edgar, like, with his paints, and then Berlioz is practicing on the piano and practicing the scales, and, talented cast that can play the piano and paint, pretty amazing. And gosh, I just love cats. So it's so adorable. It's so cute, this movie. When they start singing, like, your arpeggio, like doing that with the scales. Like, I vaguely remembered that, so that was cute too, that little song. And God, it's just so scary though. And it was kind of like, I wonder what he was actually going to do with them, because then they just like end up like the basket falls out. So then they were just lost in wherever they were, in the forest, I don't know, in the woods. And then O'Malley helps them get back to Paris. Then when they meet the Geese sisters, and they're British, how random, But so I wonder where he was actually going to drop them off, but I guess it doesn't really matter, obviously. But then of course it's the whole little through line with those two dogs, with Lafayette and Napoleon claiming he's the leader, and Lafayette's like, with the whatever they are, a bloodhound and like a basset hound, so they're so cute too. And he's just like, I'm the leader, I'll say, like, I'm the one that wears the hat. And then like at the very end too, I'll say when it's the end, like, it's cute. Like when Edgar goes back to get his hat and umbrella. And that's very kind of Looney Tunes-esque, that whole thing, like that whole little part. It's funny. Like all like the kind of the slapstick stuff, and like with the haystack going down. So it's just a very cute movie, my goodness. It puts such a smile on my face revisiting it, because I hadn't seen it in a really long time. And I had forgotten even the opening sequence with the guy singing the Aristocats, and like the cat comes back, takes off the R from aristocrats, and then makes it Aristocats. So I didn't know, like, as a kid, obviously, but then years later when I learned about the Aristocrats, and then that whole really raunchy joke, if you're unfamiliar with it, you could look it up, of course, but basically it's just kind of, you tell the raunchiest thing, and then the punchline is always the same, and then we call our act the Aristocrats. And I recently watched it since he passed. Bob Saget, his version of it is so filthy and hilarious. And also Gilbert Gottfried, his version is hysterical too. It's so disgusting but so funny. So, if you're into that, you can look it up. It's on YouTube. It's too funny. But again, with them being high society, and then they're introduced to this world of this swinging music, and they're having a blast when we meet O'Malley's friends. And as we know, everybody wants to be a cat. That song is so good, my goodness. Like, it's just so much fun. Everybody wants to be a cat, hallelujah. It's so good. And then when they're playing the piano, it like breaks through each floor level. And then as they're all strolling out, all playing their broken instruments, it's too funny, my goodness. But I do like how with O'Malley then, when O'Malley and Duchess are falling in love, and so cute, and he just fits in so well Toulouse loves him right away when O'Malley was singing and then like he was dancing along. And then also Marie is like taken like, oh, how romantic. So she's already a fan too. And then it's so cute how he saves her multiple times. Poor Marie's life is at risk multiple times. Like when she falls in the river, like my goodness, when she falls off the truck, like, bye, Mr. O'Malley. Like he saves her, like goodness. And then it's cute how they're hungry, and then he says, okay, you gotta close your eyes, wiggle your nose, tickle your chin, like these cute things, and voila, like breakfast. It's like, oh, look, we did it. So it's cute how he plays into their imagination. So he's like a good father figure to them. It's too adorable. And then how he says like he can stay, like Duchess and the kids could stay with him. He says, oh, she says how now we must go back to Madame. And he says, oh, she's just another human. You're just their house pet. So he obviously has a different view on humans because it's clear he's just a stray cat. So poor O'Malley. And then, but it's so sweet that at the end when then he just becomes part of their home. Like, that's okay. We'll adopt him too. He can be part of the family. Like, when they take a picture, it's too cute. And I did not remember the ending too when she says how my foundation for all the cats of Paris, like all the alley cats of Paris, and they're all singing and dancing again, singing Everybody Wants to Be a Cat. I loved that too. Very, very cute. Oh my goodness. And also Frou Frou is adorable, the horse who helps them out too. That part when they're all fighting and then Roquefort's like, quiet, it's like to get them out of the chest, like turning the lock. That's too funny too. So like O'Malley and Duchess are so cute, like when then he's saying how, like, when he just takes, like, curls his tail around her tail, and it's so sweet, like, oh my goodness, gosh, they're so adorable. My goodness, what an adorable movie, honestly, really adorable. I realized I just breezed through that entire thing, but it's so cute. That's about it. It's just a very, very adorable movie. So cute, like, oh goodness, I love cats, so adorable. Actually, a couple other things I wanted to mention that I did not remember. One is the fact that O'Malley's saying how he and Duchess will go on a magic carpet ride through Paris, and then the kids get excited about that, the kittens. And he's like, okay, well, magic carpet coming up. Seems to be a prelude to Aladdin. And the other thing was that toward the end of the movie when all the cats were running and Roquefort was chasing after them, and then it looks like all these cats and then the mouse chasing them, and then the guy sees it, just a random guy sitting there, and just pours out his wine like, I've been drinking too much. Too funny. Just all these really adorable things. And everybody wants to be a cat. Hallelujah. Like, it's true. Everybody wants to be a cat. I love that. My goodness. So just a really sweet movie. And with that is going to conclude this week's episode of Storytelling Saga. Be sure to visit storytellingsaga.com for all places to listen and where to follow on social media. And as always, feel free to send me any questions, comments, or writing prompts by sending me an email at storytellingsaga@gmail.com. Next episode, in honor of Valentine's Day, I thought I'd discuss Be My Valentine, Charlie Brown. Until then, thank you for listening, and remember, write what you love.